Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Play the Tape. I am your host, Derek J. Fields. And full disclaimer, I always do this. Sometimes I forget. I am not, or my guests sometimes or may sometimes be licensed clinical therapists or certified drug alcohol counselors. I do have them from the show from time to time. I do have a guest today that's an expired to be a certified or licensed social worker. I think that is important to let people know that this is not therapy. This is not a counseling session. What Play the Tape is a community of advocacy, support, and for people who have mental health conditions, substance use issues, and recovery, which you always hear me say is inspirational change moving forward. I don't use the term recovery exclusively just for mental health and substance use. You know me, you've heard me say it plenty of times before. I believe recovery is going outside to taking a walk, getting some sun on your face, telling the people in your life, hey, I love you, giving them their flowers while they're here. You know, kissing your wife, kissing your spouse, your husband, hugging your kids. For me, it was taking a hot shower, brushing my teeth. Coming from homelessness, yes. So that's what I say with inspirational change moving forward for recovery. We recover every day. That's what Play the Tape is. It is a platform of recovery. So my guest today is Miss Brooke Keefe. She is a ECU student. She got her bachelor's degree in 2023 when she graduated in social work, graduated summa cum laude. And she's currently in her master's degree program working on social work. She's a former intern and a current volunteer at the Pitt County Detention Center. And she's a former Pitt County Teen Court volunteer of 5 years. I can't wait to pick her brain and hear her story and her testimony. My guest today, Brooke Keefe. How are you doing today?
I'm doing amazing, Derek. Thank you so much for having me. This is super exciting. I've never done anything like this, so thank you.
You're welcome. I'm glad that you agreed to do this. We met at a Sharp and Aware event maybe a few weeks ago for the alumni that were graduating that program. And we're going to get into that later on in the show because I really want you to elaborate on the Pitt County Sharp and Aware program and what it's about and what does it offer and how you got involved in that. We'll get to that in a little bit. But I want to start off by you having the floor and you telling us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your background, Brooke.
Yeah, so I grew up here in Greenville, North Carolina. I've always had a passion for this community. My mom is actually from the surrounding area of Little Washington. So I've had such a strong tie to this area and the people that make up this county and this city. Growing up, I really struggled with my identity, just being in school. And I feel like the curriculum is um, very focused on math, science, things like that. And I was never, ever good at that. And that was hard for me as a child, just being different and feeling different and not knowing why. Um, I didn't do well in those areas. But growing up, I was involved in church and mission trips and mission work and volunteer work. And that's really where I felt that I thrived. I absolutely loved it. I felt like the populations and the people that were, the outcasts in society and, the black sheep, I felt like I had some, at the time it felt super weird. Like, why am I connecting so heavy to people that people don't approach every day? And that was very weird for me growing up. Um, but as I got older and I kind of understood different aspects of society, like mental health, substance use, things like that, it kind of became clear to me that there was a need for people and for just more resources and attention in those areas. But I wasn't quite sure like what that looked like, anything like that. Um, and it wasn't until a few years ago I had some friends who unfortunately passed away due to substance use and suicide. So I really felt the full effects of how those things impact everybody. It's almost, I kind of say, like a domino effect, a snowball effect. It affects the individual, the families, the friends, the smaller communities, and society as a whole. We're losing people every day to suicide, to opioid overdose, um, alcoholism, things like that. And I think all of those moments in, my childhood and growing up, being a young adult and being, the 21-year-old that I am, kind of shaped me into wanting to be a social worker. And that was such an amazing and defining moment for me as I was talking to my parents. They're such an amazing support system for me. And they were like, Brooke, you just have this unique ability to approach others when a lot of people would kind of dismiss them, and they're the outcasts of society, but you're able to somehow get through to them and to speak to them, and it's really amazing. And I was like, yeah, like I don't get it, like what does that mean for me? And luckily, I just thank God every day for my parents and my family that led me to social work. They were like, you should pursue social work, mental health and therapy and recovery and things like that. That's something you should do. And I tried it, and I went to my first, I think it was, practice with individuals here at ECU, and I just sat in that classroom and I felt like I found my purpose. This is what I love. I never felt anything in school before that I was excited to learn about. I remember sitting in class in high school being like, oh my God, like when will this teacher shut up? I hate math. I hate science. I hate it. Like I just wasn't good at it. And I'm like,
Right.
what is wrong with me? But I sat in that class and I was like, this is what I love. This is what I want to do. And ever since then, I feel like I have kind of built on my identity, and I felt like I'm a new person. And I love what I do every day with the SHARP program and the WARE program, like what you said, and just the community in Greenville and Pitt County. I love it so much. I really do.
I'm glad of your humility and I'm glad of your humanity.
Yeah.
I feel like, and I say, and I've said this before, ladies and gentlemen, in previous episodes and previous shows, that I believe that the humility and the humanity, if you are someone that, like myself, has been on both sides. I've been on the side of homelessness. I've been on the side of addiction and mental illness. And now I'm learning this side of advocacy and support and peer support and counseling. I'm learning that side. Not saying that that's me per se, but I'm learning so much from people like Brooke and other guests that I've had on the show as they inspire to be clinical counselors, certified drug and alcohol counselors, licensed social workers. That takes humility and humanity to get into that type of field, it's a service field. It is a service field. It's not a field to make a lot of money. It's
Right.
a field to, yeah, you do want to be compensated, and you want to live, and you want to live comfortably, but it's a field that you know that you have to be of service, and that people's lives are in your hands, and
Yes.
they may be like that first defense, that first line of defense that they come in. So for instance, I am on Brooke's caseload, and she's my social worker. She and I believe most counselors and therapists and psychologists and psychiatrists, they have to have this humanity about them, that they want to care. And you seem like you do.
Yeah.
So you said you didn't know about that. You knew it, but you didn't know it. When did you know that you had that ability of humanity, that blessing of humanity in you? And when did you lean into it so much to accept it? Because I know you talked about the class and that was impactful and inspiring to you. But when did Brooke actually started to lean into, hey, you know what? My parents, this class, okay, God is saying something to me that I need to pay attention to.
Yeah, I think it was just small little things that I would see in the community. I would hear, I don't know if you or anyone in the community saw, there was an article that I want to say the New York Times or somebody did about Greenville, North Carolina. It was a huge like news source that they chose Greenville to focus on for the opioid crisis. And I remember seeing it and I was like, oh my God, like I live there, I'm from there, like why are we not doing anything about this? And it was people from J.H. Rose High School. I didn't go there, but a ton of my friends went there. It was like, this is this is important. This is not something that you watch on the news and you're like, oh God, like that sucks, like that's sad, flip the channel, whatever, say a prayer, move on. It's like, no, these are our children, this is our youth, these are parents, these are siblings, these are cousins, these are neighbors that are human beings, right? Like they're not just people you see on TV and you're like, oh man, and then you just move on. Like these are people that I had come in contact with. I knew their last names, and that was that was hard. That was very, very hard for me to realize that this is serious. And I think it's awful that it had to come to the point where it was youth from Greenville. And, like I said earlier, I had experiences with family, friends, and just people in my circle. One of them died in a car crash because of drunk driving and alcoholism and things like that, and someone else died by suicide. And I think that's when I was just frustrated, but I knew that my love for people and just getting down to the bottom of things and asking that question of why is this happening, because
Mm-hmm.
you don't wake up in the morning and decide that you don't want to be here anymore, right? You don't progress to heroin because you're feeling silly and you want to have a good, there's something there that isn't being addressed. And I thought that my unique focus on that and my passion for that meant something. I didn't know what it meant, but I had a couple conversations with one of my best friends from high school. She's really big on mental health too, and my mom works in the pharmaceutical field, and she sold or her like company sold an injectable for opioid use, and all of that kind of came full circle. And it was like, Brooke, you're not the typical student that is super academically gifted, but the ability that I had to really think about it, and it kept me up at night, it really did. But that was kind of the turning point where I was like, there is something going on in my community, in my backyard, with my friend group, and with society in general, that I just feel very, very passionate about, and it's hard for me to not do anything about it. And it was scary. That realization was scary. It was like, oh
Mm-hmm.
my gosh, like I think I just found, something that I want to do. And that realization didn't come overnight. But as I took these classes and had these conversations with mentors and professionals and things like that, it was like, it almost became more and more important to me, to the point where I knew that I was in the right place.
Would
And
you?
it felt
Oh, go
amazing.
ahead. Go ahead.
No, it felt amazing to feel, after all those years of wondering, like, I don't have the best GPA. I'm not super like into sports. I don't love, math and science. Like what's going on here? It just felt like Brooke finally found something that she absolutely loves, and that was amazing.
I'm glad to hear that. I'm good at math and science. Um,
I'm
I'm not.
jealous.
I'm not. No, no. I'm not good at the English and the writing and the grammar. That's my wife. She could do that. So we balance each other well. That's just funny that you say that. Dealing with 21. You're 21.
Yep.
Dealing with the grief and the loss that you've seen so far when it comes to mental health and substance use disorder. How has your passion and the gift that God has given you to inquire and to be inquisitive about the why is this happening? Because like you said, I just didn't wake up one day and was addicted to crack cocaine. I just wasn't. There is that's a symptom
Right.
of the underlying what's going on, the underlying trauma that's in my life. It led up to that, and the smoking of the crack cocaine, the addiction to porn, and the self gratification that came with that is a symptom of what's lying underneath. And I've learned that in my own recovery, in my own treatment plan. For you, how has the loss and the grief, how has your passion, how has your humility, your humanity, and the understanding of the why kept your mental health stable with all the loss that you've faced so far, under knowing what it's attributed to?
That, I would say, is difficult, and it's a learning experience every day. I did not think that I would go to, my internship every day at the detention center and be as passionate as I ended up being about it, and hearing, loss and experiencing loss and understanding the trauma that's rooted in a lot of people's experiences. And like you said, there is a reason why you're addicted to whatever you're addicted to. And I like to use the term self-medication. It's like you're trying to treat whatever you're going through. And that sucks. Like, I don't have any words to say how difficult that was for me to understand and wrap my head around. Um, and there's always going to be, cases and people that keep me up at night, keep, professionals up at night, and just keep human beings up at night when they hear the things that people go through. But I like to say, if I've reached one person, then I've done my job. Obviously, I want to reach and make an impact on the entire recovery community and, beyond that. But at the end of the day, that was a very difficult realization to me. And I remember I had a conversation with my supervisor because it was getting to the point where things like this kept me up at night. And I'm like, I don't know what I can do, She was like, Brooke, you can lead the horse to water, but you can't make it drink. People
Right.
will recover when they're ready. And it's not our job to force someone to make them ready. It's to meet them where they are, wherever that is, whatever that looks like, and be with them and guide them to the point where you don't force them to recover, but you empower them to believe in themselves, that there is a better life for them. And that is very, very difficult, especially, experiencing loss and having those moments of frustration and like, what is going on? Like, I just hate to hear and see every day the trauma and the things that people endure. But at the end of the day, it's not my job to change the entire trajectory. It's my job to meet people where they are and to be with them. And to me, that makes the best impact, is like, dang, somebody actually cares. Like, I'm at my lowest of my lows and somebody isn't here like judging me or inflicting shame upon me. It's like, this person really, really cares. I'm at my rock bottom. And, it's not a conversation of like, why are you doing this? It's more of like hey, like, what's going on? Let's talk about this together. And I think that just makes a huge difference in people's lives.
Yeah, that part is the humanity and the humility that I talk about, because I've seen it not happen. And I've seen it where you're in there. For myself, I'm in there and I'm dying. I am suffering and I need someone to care. I need someone to just hold my hand, let me cry, or give me a hug, or hear me because I'm screaming and I feel like I am not being heard or no one can hear me. But when you find people like yourself and others that care, that saves a life. You know what I mean? That can save a life, because now, and I said this before, but it's so true, is I trust you, Brooke.
Yeah.
I trust you. You have earned my trust and my respect to the point where even if you're not my assigned caseworker, I'm going to call Miss Brooke.
That's right. That's right. And I love that. That's, that fulfills me and fuels me. I had people walking up and down the halls of, the detention center and just, in the community, Miss Brooke. I'm like, oh my gosh, hey, so-and-so, like, how are you? Like, I love that. And that just drives me every day.
Because they know that if they bring you something, you hear them.
Yeah.
You're not just going to write it off or dismiss it. And if you don't know the answer, you're confident enough to be like, hey, Derek, I don't have the answer for you right now, but you best believe I'm going to find it out for you. Or I'm going to direct you to someone who knows it, and you tell them that Miss Brooke sent you. That to me is empowering to be like, so you're telling me that this person comes in here daily for me to succeed? I gotta give my all. I have to give my all. So that's what, okay. So coming into this line of work, because coming into social work is not easy. How does Brooke, knowing what you're going to do, because the classroom is in education is very important. I never take nothing away from education. I believe education is very important. You have to educate yourself on what you're trying to do, but don't let that education take away from your personal experience of being a human being. Yeah. How has your education from your bachelor's degree, graduating that, getting that in social work, going into your master's degree, what have you learned so far that you've taken with you from your days of volunteering at PCDC or your days volunteering at Teen Court? How have they linked up, and what is different?
Oh man, that was the biggest shock, I would say, in my experience moving and shifting from a classroom setting to what we call a field setting. So going into places and not sitting at a desk and and highlighting a textbook and taking tests, but applying that. And there are definitely similarities. I feel like the theories that I've learned and the certain behavior patterns and things like that that I've studied are absolutely applicable to what I've experienced. But it was funny because one of my first week volunteering at the detention center, in class, we always talk about professionalism and boundaries and making sure that that doesn't, you don't, you can't, unfortunately, you can't, you always have to have your guard up, always. And I, just was like, yeah, like, I get it, whatever. But I walked in, Pitt County Detention Center, B5, shout out to the guys in B5. I walk in and I, have this professional demeanor. My body language is very reserved. My shoulders are up high. I'm not really smiling. You can tell I'm a little timid. And everyone walks in and they're like, "What up?" Like, "Oh, like, what's going on? Like, we ain't seen you before." Da, 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 da. And I'm like, I I don't know how to handle it because this is not, you can prepare for things all you want, but at the end of the day, like, we didn't talk about this in school. Like, what am I supposed to do? And like, I remember it was my 21st birthday that weekend, and they asked me what I was doing. And of course, there was, the take a shot for me, Miss Brooke, or like, oh, you gonna turn up? Da, 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 da. And it was like, that casual banter in that environment is not what was taught in a textbook. And I was like, I don't want, you don't want to be too reserved to the point where you're not human, but you always kind of have to have that line of boundary. And that to me was the biggest gap of what the curriculum teaches you and how it is in field. And I struggle with that every day because I feel like just me, like, if I'm acting like we always say, don't walk in like you're a badass social worker, because if you walk in like you're a badass, you look cocky, and that's not human, right? That's not what you're there for. You're not there to flaunt your degree and to flaunt your position. You're there to meet people where they are
Mm-hmm.
and be there for them because it's not about you at that point. Um, so that was very difficult for me when I walked in, and I just remember a couple of the faces, and they were like, "What up?" Like dapping me up and all this, and I'm like, "This is not what we talked about in school." Um, but just having that, staying true to yourself, really, because that's what it's about. Is people are gonna see through the BS. If you're trying to act like you know everything and all that, you're just gonna fall on your face and look stupid. So for me, it was all about just letting my personality shine through and using my knowledge that I had gained to better the lives of other people instead of making it about me. So definitely a learning curve every single day as I go into new situations, because these situations can be unpredictable, for lack of better words. But just staying true to myself was a lesson that I continue to learn every day.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And that was, I believe that was God letting you know that it's okay. And I
Yeah,
appreciate that. And correct me if I'm wrong. You have a faith about you that you're a believer, and so am I. I believe in God and the Creator, and I don't believe in coincidences. I believe things happen for a reason. I believe that happened for you to go in there to understand, like, man, these people are people.
yeah, that's right.
And
Exactly what
yeah,
happened.
yes.
Yeah,
And okay, we make mistakes, true. And who am I to come in here and look down or feel superior, or not saying you did, but some people, sometimes it has that type of, you can feel that type of attitude, that type of
yeah,
frequency, that vibe. It's like, okay, here's this person coming in with their degrees and their letters in front of their name or behind their name. And uh, I don't really know, but that wasn't you. Keep that.
yeah.
I pray that you keep that, because going into this line of work and in this career path in this field, um, is, I believe you're going to get met with a lot of different challenges. And how important is it to you to keep your mental stability? Because you have to have that
That's
doing
right.
this, because
Absolutely.
You're going to meet a lot of different personalities, maybe the same symptoms, but different personalities that handle those symptoms differently. How can you, because people want to know, how do the counselors and the therapists and the social workers keep their mental stability? Could you give us something or an example of how you would do that for yourself?
Yeah, that we that goes back to the curriculum that is being taught is it's self-care, self-care, self-care. And just like whatever, I get it. That was so hard because we're human. We're going to take home the things that we hear, the sexual abuse, the physical abuse, the self-medication because of the homelessness and all of that. I think it's not I think that there's a false narrative of, you got to learn to not take it home. For
Mhm.
me, I'm a very I mean, I would like to say I would go so far as to say it's, my strong sense of empathy, like, I can't not take that home, like, that kind of stuff is going to keep me up at night. However, you cannot pour into other people unless your glass is full, and I
Ah,
remember.
I had
Yeah,
that yesterday. Look, I had that on another episode. I'm sorry. That's
yeah.
just go
I
ahead.
love it. I love that analogy. I love
Yes.
it so much.
And I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just, it's been said on the show, and again, I don't believe that's a reason. There was a purpose for that, and you're right.
Yeah,
You can't pour into someone unless your cup is overflowing,
yeah.
and you have to be able to pour into someone correctly, understand their needs, and like you said, meet them where they are. I didn't mean to cut you off. That was just, it hit me and I got excited. I get excited.
Yes, I'm glad I could do that for you, Derek.
Thank you.
I'm glad we had that moment right there. But it's
I just
it's
did.
so true though. I mean, it's like, I don't know if you've ever been on an airplane, but you're on the airplane, put on your oxygen mask before you put on others because if you are struggling, how are you supposed to I'm telling you, I know this from experience. It's only a matter of time before you crumble because I've been at those points because I'm a giver, right? I feel fulfillment from pouring into other people and that's
Hmm.
amazing and wonderful and fulfilling. But if I don't have anything left for myself, I don't have anything left to give. And I think that that's human, right? Like I've gone into different situations and I've started and I'm a very transparent person. I'm like, hey guys, like, man, I've just had a tough day. Like I'm really not feeling my best. So like, how is everyone else feeling? I think it's okay to feel drained at times because we're human and life is hard and life is getting harder and harder. And as humans, I think as soon as we accept the fact that it's not going to be perfect every day, and just because of the fact that I don't know that I'm going into these situations, like I'm human, I struggle too, and just pouring into other people, you've got to pour into yourself, and that's been difficult. But for me, it's not grand things like taking a trip to the beach and going on crazy vacations and outings. It's for me turning off my laptop and getting into the shower. I like what you said earlier about the shower because for me a hot shower is self-care. I take like
Yes.
2 3 showers a day, I'm telling you. But taking a shower, going for a walk, sitting down and sitting in the living room and taking an extra 10 15 minutes to make my roommate and I coffee and just laugh about life and just the craziness that we go through as human beings. And reconnecting with my best friend. She doesn't live in Greenville, but we call each other all the time. And just being able to enjoy the simple things about life. I think it all goes back to um, we just forget sometimes life is so busy, but you just got to go back to human connection and relationships and just self fulfillment, I think is so important. But it's easier said than done, in this line of work. Things are going to keep you up at night and all that, but just simple things, taking time for yourself and reading a book. I'm a big reader too. So all of
Hmm.
that just kind of, it slowly but surely just kind of balances out the things that I see and I hear and then the energy that I have to go in every day and pour into other people.
You talked about how you did field work and how you volunteer at the Pitt County Detention Center, PCDC. How did that start? And I know there they have two programs. They have the SHARP program and the WARE program. Would you elaborate on those programs and how you got involved in PCDC?
Yeah. So part of the social work curriculum is you do a bunch of hours in class, the traditional classroom setting. But here at ECU, your senior year, your last semester, you do field. So you go in to your internship from this Tuesday to Friday. So you've got 32 hours in field where you apply your knowledge from the classroom setting into a social work type setting. So I was placed at the detention center, which was very uncomfortable for me because I had never stepped foot in the detention center. I had grown up in Greenville my entire life, did not know where the jail was, had no clue. So, I get the email, I open it up, I'm all excited. Oh, like, where am I going to be placed? Pitt County Detention Center. I'm like,
In bold letters, in big
yeah,
bold
right,
letters,
yeah.
right?
Congratulations. Yeah, Pitt County Detention Center. So I'm thinking, what in the world is at the time I'm 20, why and how, as a 20-year-old girl, I feel like, okay, yes, I'm an adult legally, but I still feel like a child. Like I'm still, I'm not a full-blown adult yet. How am I going to step in there and be taken seriously and impact the lives of other people? And that was scary for me at first. But the time comes, I go in there on my first day, they buzz me in the jail, which was obviously very intimidating.
Hmm.
And I go and I meet these individuals from the SHARP program, which is Sheriff's Heroin Addiction Recovery Program. It's a jail-based program, so there's 8 to 12 individuals. We interview them. They voluntarily apply. So this is not something we make people do. They apply to be a part of this rehabilitative program. And these individuals get groups, individual counseling, all types of therapeutic intervention. But they're held to a very high standard. They're supposed to be model inmates. So it's kind of a trade-off. So you got to be on your P's and Q's, but
Hmm.
we want you to use your time wisely here while you're at the detention center to acknowledge that um, there's something going on in your life and there's a reason why you keep ending up here, and let's break that cycle. So that was a SHARP program. And then the WARE program is for women. That's Women's Empowerment and Recovery, pretty much similar to the SHARP program. It's a little bit smaller. There's typically, I would say, like maximum 5, 6 individuals in there. But I ended up meeting these individuals from the SHARP and the WARE program. And that was the moment when I walked in super scared, don't really know how this is going to go. I'm barely not even 21 yet. And I buzz in to the SHARP program, and everyone was so welcoming. It was, oh, like, what's your name? I'm so and so. I've been here for this long. Like, what are you doing here? Like, what's going on? And for once, I felt like there wasn't a barrier between me getting to go home at 5 o'clock and then the girls and the guys in the jumpsuits.
Hmm.
And that was a turning point for me, because it is easy for us to go, and I'm guilty of this, I will admit it. It is easy for me to log on to Jailbirds or to the Daily Reflector and look at all the mug shots and the charges and be like, oh, like, you're here for so and so, you're going to prison, you're going to be here for a long time, blah, blah, blah. And I had that mindset. I was like, oh, like, you committed a crime, like, oh, you did the crime, you served the time. But the relationships that I built um, during my 3 to 4 month time frame in the detention center absolutely changed my perspective on the human beings that are justice involved individuals in and out of the detention center. And I think when we take a moment to look at the why are you in and out of jail? Because no one wants to be there. It sucks. It sucks.
Yes.
Why are you reoffending? What is going on? And I think that realization and comparing, the charges that are on your we call it a face sheet, so your mugshot and your charges are one thing, but the individual is standing right in front of me. So let's have a conversation. What's going on? And the relationships and the alliance that I formed with these individuals is probably the most life-changing thing I've ever been a part of. And I'm just so grateful every day that I'm pouring into these individuals, but I'm not sure that I could express how much they are pouring into me, whether they know it
Mm.
or not.
I'm
Yeah,
glad you said that. I'm glad you said that.
yeah.
No, I just a lot of people forget that part. Is people ask me, why do you come and speak? And I want to get back to what you said. about them pouring into you, but it just hit me because people are like, why do you go speak? Why do you go share your story? Why do you go share your experience, strength, and hope? Because not only am I pouring into that community, they're pouring back into me
Yeah.
because now they see I want to be where you are. And then I'd be like, well, I've been where you are, and I'm only a one bad decision away of being back. We're being in this together. So
Yes.
why not be in this together in the recovery, in the inspirational change moving forward? Let's do that. Let's build that community and that sister and brotherhood and
Yeah.
that camaraderie moving forward together so we don't end up back here again. So I'm so grateful and thankful that you said that they poured into you. And I just don't want you to miss that, people. Brooke said that they pour into her. You're like, man, is that even possible? Yes.
Yes.
If you
It
go in there with an
absolutely
open
is.
mind, people, you can learn anything from anyone. Don't always look at the messenger. Focus on the message that's being taught.
Yeah.
So you said that they were pouring into you.
Yeah, they absolutely were, and, it didn't happen overnight, but I would hear things and people I felt very, very lucky and blessed to be in a position where people trusted me enough to be vulnerable with me because jail is not a place to be vulnerable. I mean, from what I don't have the firsthand experience, but from what I've been told by the individuals in the detention center, it's very dangerous to disclose
Mm,
certain aspects of your past. And there's a lot of betrayal and things like that in jail, opening up to people. There's instances where I've heard that people have gotten that used against them, and just certain things like that. So I felt very blessed to be in a position that allowed me to be the person that they felt comfortable enough to open up to. And not only did that help me with, the academic part of it, because that's what field is all about, is learning how does social work, right? What does that mean? And that obviously occurred in the detention center, but also as a human being, understanding that at the end of the day, like, yes, certain people have certain criminal records, whatever, mental health things and substance use problems, but at the end of the day, we all have our stuff going on. And who am I to say because you have this charge or because you have this disorder or this diagnosis, like just brush you off? No, that's not what this is about. And I think that stems from my faith. But I also think that's just a part of being human and being an active member of this community and society in general is to have each other's back and to sit in the detention center. That really came full circle for me because our struggles didn't look the same always,
mm-hmm.
but in a way, it felt like I could relate to the things they were going through. And it didn't look the same. Our situations are very different, and I felt very blessed to be able to, clock in at 8 in the morning and leave at 5 in the afternoon. But at the end of the day, we felt the same emotions, and that was very powerful for me to look at, all these people that surround me and just have that moment of, "We're in this together." Like, this is humanity. This is all of us struggling. And I really believe that if we just took a minute to sit down and listen to each other and listen to our stories and our testimonies, that we would understand that we're really not all that different and we're all in this together. And that is an experience that I don't think I would have gotten if I wasn't placed in the detention center. So I feel very fortunate that I was placed there because, to be honest, if I was looking at a list of internships, I would not have voluntarily picked the jail. That just would not have happened. But I was placed there, and the relationships that I made, I still have people. I have a work phone number, and I still get messages every once in a while. Hey, Miss Brooke, just checking in on you. I got a job, or hey, I just got my driver's license back. Things like that are so powerful. I say they're small wins. They seem very small, but at the end of the day, that's life changing. That's
Mm-hmm.
huge. And
That
to be a
is.
part of that is so amazing. And I wouldn't change it for the world.
That's what keeps you going. That's your glass half full moments
That's right.
right there, is the calls that you get to let you know, hey, I'm thinking about you because you made an impact in my life and I wanted to share my successes with you
That's
because you
right.
were a part of building me up to get to this point. I think
Yeah.
that's fantastic. That just moved my spirit,
Yeah.
to us that just very much touched my heart and my spirit. And I wanted to, you had shared something in that, the disclosure, the being able to give them a little bit about yourself to a
Mhm.
certain extent. How is that? Because I hear different things when it comes to that, when it comes to counselors and it comes to therapy and it comes to social work, is in the setting, you excuse me, you can't give too much of yourself, but you got to give enough where they can relate or they can see your vulnerability. How did you manage that balance to say, hey, okay, I know what the class says, I know what the educational part says, I know what my studies say, but I got to reach these guys and these
Yeah.
gals. I got to reach these men and these women, and I got to give them something that they can trust me. So, how did you go and approach it that way to give them a little bit of vulnerability about Brooke?
Yeah, that also is something, that goes back to, the boundaries that I struggled with because I am human, I have this professionalism about me that I have to maintain because I'm there to do a job, but at the end of the day, I'm not just there to do my duty and dip. That's not what I'm about, that's not what this field is about. So that was very difficult, and then, on top of that, I'm in a setting that is very, it is very much monitored and you're buzzed in and you're buzzed out, so those boundaries and those walls are just naturally there because that's
Hmm.
just the nature of the setting. um, but I learned over time, people would just say certain things like, well, I think I'm bipolar and I think da 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 da. And so beginning in that conversation about medication and treatment and things like that. For example, I would say, hey, like I'm on medication for anxiety. I have I have a lot of anxiety, but I'm on medication and I love it. I think it's worth looking into. And it's like, oh really, like, and we talk about, yeah, it took me about 2 months to figure out my medication, but I encourage you to talk to the nurse about it. So things like that that just make me human. It's kind of like an onion. You peel back the layers one
Hmm.
at a time, and just little things like that I think knocked down that wall and just made us as a group, more vulnerable and more empowering together to just speak on the things that we're going through, and just to realize, I mean, that setting is very difficult, being in jail and talking about your, mental health and your addiction and things like that. But we all struggle in a way that doesn't look the same. But I really emphasize just being transparent and talking about my mental health, not giving the full backstory of, why I feel the way I feel, whatever, but saying, oh yeah, like I've been diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder. Like I get it. Like, and this is what worked for me. So let's work together and see what works for you. I think builds a sense of togetherness, of community, that like I'm not here to treat you. I'm here to figure out what we can do together to find a solution.
It builds your professional rapport with them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like that. We got about 10 minutes and I wanted to ask you a quick question. And I don't know how quick you can answer, but I would love for you to come back. I always invite my guests to come back and become reoccurring guests because at 21, working on your master's, um, as you pursue that, you're going to learn so much more and get
Yeah.
so much more experience. And I want to come back. I want you to come back and talk about that. Like, oh, here when I just started the master's program too, man, I'm in the middle. Now I'm about to finish. Now I'm getting into the career.
That's
School, of course, education is always going to be there because you got to learn your different certifications and things change over time, different formulas, different modules, different diagnosis come about, different techniques that you will have to learn may outdate previous techniques, or you
mhm,
might have to always refresh the ones that you know. And I want to get that. I want you to come back and talk about that
right.
and expand on that. But real quick, what is social work? Explain that to me. What is social work? What does that mean?
Social work for me, it was very difficult for me to differentiate that as I was, declaring a major because you've got psychology and psychiatry and, addiction counseling. To me, social work is taking a holistic perspective. By that, I mean taking the different aspects that make you who you are, your mental health, your physical health, your environmental health, your spiritual health, all of those things that make up who you are. Social work pours into that, not just in the hour session that you sit in my office and we talk about your problems and then I send you out and I give you, something to do. No, we are going to focus on all aspects of your being, whether you're in my office as my client, to when you step out the door, and focus on everything that makes you who you are. And I think that's what draws me to social work is you can give someone an intervention to focus on. We can talk about why you're feeling down today for an hour and then I send you on your way. But you're gonna live your life, the rest of the 6 days out of the week in your community and in your environment. So how can we make that environment better for you? So social work really hits every single aspect of one's being and just pours into all of those things that make up who you are pretty much.
Do y'all work together with the psychiatrist, the psychologist, the therapist? Do y'all work in tandem together to develop a plan that's best suitable for that individual?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, these treatments and these things are not a one size fits all approach. So some people may need medication. So we do talk to the psychiatrist. Some people want to talk about their mental health with, the social worker, but they would rather go somewhere else for their addiction counseling, things like that. So
Mhm.
we try to work instead of working in silos, we try to work together. And I think that there's so much power in that.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
really good. I am I'm blessed that I get to I love talking to with this I get a chance to with this platform being of service this way. I get to talk to the mental health. I get to talk to the substance use. I get to talk to the family members, and then I get to talk to people like yourself that are learning their social work. They're learning their counseling. They're learning their psychology and psychiatry, and they're
Mhm.
learning their field of being a clinical counselor or as drug and alcohol, or they're already been in that field for years.
Right.
And it just blows my mind because I'm learning so much about the differences and the nuances that this community brings together for the benefit of people like myself.
Yeah.
Um, I'm very thankful for that and thankful to you for being here. Um, Real quick, give me a few things that you're grateful for. I always do that because I say when I go speak, I tell, and the reason I do that, and I say this all the time, so the people are like, yeah, we know Derek why, but I love telling it because it brings me joy. I do that because I like focusing on the things that I have and not
Yeah.
the things that I don't have. Because when trials and tribulations come that we must endure, when life, my friend, my one of my best friends, she was like, "Life is lifing." I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I told her she better coin that. When life is lifing and gets heavy, we as people can tend to focus on the negative
Mhm.
or the grief, the loss, the depression, the anxiety, the things that we don't have. But I like to ask people, what are you grateful for? Because when those things do come and when life happens on life's terms, before you are able to relapse mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, grab on to those things that you mentioned you were grateful for because they can be that first line of defense to get you to that phone call like, hey, Miss Brooke, I'm going through it today. um, can I just talk to you before I go um, do something that I'm going to regret?
Right.
So that's why I always ask people, what are they grateful for? Because it's just something that you can hold on to. It's a lifeline that, man, I'm grateful for that. And I don't want to mess that up by
Yeah.
doing something that could jeopardize that. So give me a few things that you're grateful for.
I love that. First and foremost, I'm thankful for God. I really am. Without him, like you said, I don't believe in coincidences. I think everything happens for a reason. I thank him for giving me the resources and providing this path for me to be in the position that I am today, because I find it so fulfilling. And I've struggled in the past with, with purpose and identity. And like you said, everything happens for a reason. And it all led up to these moments of fulfillment and these relationships that I've built. So that's all, that was all God and doing his
Mm-hmm.
thing.
Yep.
So, yes, that is like the biggest thing. Um, my support system. I'm so fortunate to have parents who just pour into me and love me and just make things so much easier, because not everyone has people that pick up the phone when they're struggling. And for me, I have two parents, an amazing sister, and some really amazing friends that have my back. So shout out to them. I know they're probably going to listen when this drops. So shout out to them.
Absolutely.
And I hate to sound cheesy, but really just the recovery community, whatever that looks like, whether you're trying to recover, whatever that looks like, the professionals that give their all every day, just even like my clients, I'm so thankful for y'all, just because for me, it's done me so good to see people working together. And I've seen the benefits and really just all that work and things pay off, because people's lives are transforming every day. And I'm so thankful to be a part of that, because it drives me and fuels my faith and fuels just the human part of me to be able to give back to people. So it's everyone that actually took me seriously when I was a 20-year-old intern walking into the detention center. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you to my supervisor for letting me come back in as a volunteer, to the guys in B5 who listen to me every day, y'all who are in the community that I've worked with, either directly or indirectly. I hear you, I see you, and I'm just very blessed to be a part of that.
That's awesome. I appreciate you, and I'm grateful that you came up here and was my guest
Yeah.
for today. You are the last guest for season 2, and I appreciate that, because I was like, man, I saw you at the alumni event for Sharp and Wear, and we had talked on the phone, and I was like,
Yeah.
I really want you to come up here, because for you to put that together, for you to inspire that and to be a part of that, to give them their flowers, to give them their certificates of graduation and completing the program. I wanted to get you up here so you
Oh,
could share that. I wanted to get you up here so people can see the process and the purpose that you have and why you do this.
yeah.
That's important. I feel like that's very important, because someone could look at this in a pit, because I've been in that pit, and be like, oh wow, there are people out here that care. There are people that here that are humble and have humanity, and I got to find that person, and you will. God
Yeah.
will bring that person to you. They will bring a Miss Brooke, a person like Miss Brooke to you that
Yeah.
cares, and this is how she got here. This is how they got here. So just keep that in mind, ladies and gentlemen. If you are suffering from mental health or substance use, or you know someone who is, there is hope always, and that's what Ms. Brooke provided today. Is she had hope in God and her purpose to be here, and
Yeah.
I love that, and I'm blown away. That is a blessing, and we thank God for that. Listen, I want to say thank you, Brooke. I love you from the bottom of my heart for doing this. I love you just regardless as my sister,
Yeah.
um, in God and in recovery, in his journey of recovery. And I definitely would love for you to come back in the
Absolutely.
future. So
Derek, thank you so much. I just commend everything that you do and that you stand for. We couldn't do this without people like you who have been on both sides. So seriously, from me and the profession, thank you so much. Really.
absolutely, absolutely, it's my pleasure. I love being of service.
Yeah.
Wherever this is going to go, I'm excited for the journey. Not even worried
Yeah.
about the destination. So
And we're doing it together. So that's
yes,
the
we
best
are. Yes,
part.
we are. Community all day. But listen, Brooke, until next time, I will talk to you soon. You take care, okay?
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you so
Peace.
much, Derek. Bye.
That's what we do here at Play the Tape, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for another great season. I don't know what's next. I mean, season 3, of course, but I'm figuring it out. I'm figuring it out. I'm just not trying to do too much to distract from the message of recovery, whatever that may look like for you, because I know it's different for everyone. But with peace comes understanding. With understanding comes love. With love comes faith. And with faith comes hope. If no one today has told you that they love you, I love you. We love you. There are people that will jump in that pit with you because they know the way out. It may seem absurd, but we will do it because we love you. We want to be of service to you. And like my guest said today, like Brooke said today, we pour into you, you pour into us. That's what community is about. That's what love is about. That's what recovery is about. So until season 3, it's going listen, there are going to be recurring guests coming. There are going to be some changes coming. That's going to be more, hopefully more interactive. I'm working on it. But just give me some time. Until next time, I love you and I'll see you soon.